Hello, my name is Sophia, and today I will tell you my story. It is not a happy story. It is a story full of pain. It is a story full of broken dreams, but it is also a story of survival and maybe a little hope. I do not share this story because it is easy. I share it because it is heavy. So heavy inside my heart that I can no longer keep it locked away. Maybe someone will listen. Maybe someone will understand. And maybe if I am lucky, someone will learn from my pain. My dreams before marriage. I was once a girl full of light. I had dreams, I had laughter, I had a heart full of hope. When I was young, people around me always said, "Sophia, one day you will get married. You will have a husband who will love you. He will protect you. He will make your life beautiful." I believed them. I believed in love. I believed in the promise of marriage. I believed that one day I would have a home filled with joy. At night, I used to imagine a small house, white curtains, a soft bed, the smell of flowers in the window, and me and my husband laughing together. That was my dream. That was my hope. But sometimes dreams are dangerous because reality is not always the same. Meeting him when I grew older, my family introduced me to a man. At first, he seemed perfect. He was tall, strong, and confident. He spoke sweet words. He smiled at me in a way that made me think, maybe this is him. Maybe he is the man from my dreams. My parents said, "He is a good man. He comes from a good family. He will take care of you." I wanted to believe that. I wanted to trust my parents' choice. So when he asked me to marry him, I said yes. On the day of the wedding, I wore a white dress. My heart was beating fast. Everyone around me was happy. My family danced. My friends smiled. Everyone said, "Sophia, you are so lucky. You will have a beautiful life with him." And I believed them. I believed I was the luckiest girl in the world. I thought my new life would be a fairy tale. But what I did not know was this. It was not the beginning of happiness. It was the beginning of pain. The first signs. In the first few days, he was kind. He held my hand. He said sweet words. He told me, "You are my wife. I will take care of you. I will never let you cry." I believed him. I wanted those words to be true. I held them close to my heart. But masks do not last forever. And his mask fell quickly. One evening, just 1 week after our wedding, he shouted at me for the first time. The reason? The tea. Yes, just tea. I made tea for him. But the tea was not sweet enough. He looked at me with anger in his eyes and shouted, "Are you stupid? Can you not even make tea? What kind of woman are you?" My hands shook. My heart stopped. I felt like someone had slapped me without touching me. Tears filled my eyes, but I swallowed them back. I told myself, it's okay. Maybe he is tired. Maybe it will not happen again. But I was wrong. So very wrong. The beginning of pain. That first shout was only the beginning. Soon the shouting became a daily thing. The anger became louder. His words became sharper. He told me again and again, "You are useless. You are weak. You are nothing." Every insult was like a knife, and every knife cut me deeper. At night when he slept, I cried. I cried silently. I buried my face in the pillow so nobody could hear. The pillow became my secret friend, my only witness. I cried until I was empty. I cried until no more tears came. I cried until my heart felt like a stone. And still, I woke up every morning, put on a smile, and tried to live. Pretending in front of the world. My parents called me sometimes. They asked, "Sophia, how are you? Are you happy?" And I lied. I said, "Yes, I am fine. I am happy. Everything is good." But inside, my soul was screaming, "No, I am not fine. I am not happy. I am breaking." But I did not want them to worry. I did not want to hurt them with my pain, so I stayed silent. To the world, I looked fine. But inside, I was falling apart. A night I will never forget. One night it was raining outside. The thunder was loud, the house was dark, and his anger was louder than the thunder. He came home late. His eyes were red. His voice was cruel. He shouted, "Where is my food? Why is the house dirty? What do you even do all day?" I tried to explain. I tried to say, "I cooked, I cleaned, I waited for you." But he did not listen. He never listened. That night, he broke a glass. The pieces fell on the floor. I bent down to pick them up with my hands. The glass cut my fingers. Blood came out. But he did not care. He just walked away. I sat on the floor, blood on my hands, tears on my face, and I whispered to myself, "This is my life now. This is my marriage. This is my prison." And outside, the rain kept falling, as if the sky itself was crying with me. The slow death of dreams. Days passed, weeks passed, months passed. Every day was the same. Every day brought pain. Every day I lost another piece of myself. My smile disappeared. My laughter died. My dreams turned into dust. I used to be Sophia, the girl with dreams. Now I was Sophia, the wife with empty eyes. I felt invisible. I felt trapped. I felt dead inside, even though I was still breathing. My inner voice, sometimes, late at night, I spoke to myself. I whispered, "Sophia, this is not love. Love does not hurt like this. Love does not kill your spirit." But another voice inside me said, "You cannot escape. This is your life now. You must accept it." And so, I lived every day with two voices inside me. One voice full of hope, and one voice full of fear. The voice of hope said, "Maybe tomorrow will be better." But the voice of fear said, No, tomorrow will be worse. And usually, the voice of fear was right. The end of part 1. This was only the beginning of my story, only the first chapter of my long, painful journey. The days of shouting, the nights of tears, the silence of pretending. I was still young. I was still new to marriage. But already I felt like an old, broken soul. This was only the start. There was much more pain to come, but also a small light of hope hidden deep inside me. Because no matter how much he broke me, a small part of me refused to die. A small part of me still whispered, "One day, Sophia, you will be free." Hello again. This is me, Sophia. If you listened to my first chapter, you know my marriage was not a dream. It was a prison. But what I shared before, that was only the beginning. Now I will tell you more. Now, I will tell you about the days and nights that nearly destroyed me. The everyday pain. Every morning I woke up with fear. Fear of his voice, fear of his anger, fear of his silence. I cooked breakfast. I cleaned the house. I washed the clothes. I did everything a wife is expected to do. But it was never enough. Nothing was ever enough. If the food was too salty, he shouted. If the food was not salty enough, he shouted. If I spoke too much, he shouted. If I stayed quiet, he shouted. It felt like I was walking on glass every day. No matter where I stepped, it cut me. And I was always bleeding inside. Words that kill, you know. Sometimes words are more dangerous than hands. Hands can hit your body. But words can break your soul. And his words were knives. Every day he told me, "You are nothing. You are stupid. You are weak. No one would ever love you." At first, I tried not to believe him. At first, I told myself, "No, Sophia. You are not weak. You are not stupid." But when you hear the same words every day, again and again, they start to live inside you. They start to feel true. Slowly, I started to believe his words. Slowly, I started to see myself the way he saw me. Broken, useless, nothing. Nights of tears. The nights were the worst. At night, there were no people. At night, there was no noise. Only me and him and his anger. He came home tired, or drunk, or both. Sometimes he ignored me completely. He walked into the house like I was invisible. That silence was heavy. So heavy that it pressed on my chest until I could not breathe. Sometimes he shouted for hours. Shouted until my ears rang. Shouted until I forgot what silence sounded like. And sometimes, his anger turned into violence. He would push the table, throw the chair, break the glass, and once, he pushed me. I fell. I hit the floor. The sound of my body hitting the ground was louder than my own scream. I looked at him with tears, hoping he would regret it. But he didn't. He just turned his back and walked away. And I lay there, on the cold floor, broken in body and soul. Hiding my scars, the next morning I looked in the mirror. There was a small bruise on my arm. I put makeup on it. I covered it with my dress. When my mother called, I smiled and said, "Yes, Mama, I am fine. I am happy." Why did I lie? Because I was ashamed. Because I was scared. Because I did not want them to see how much I had fallen. It is strange. He hurt me, but I felt the shame. He broke me, but I carried the guilt. That is what abuse does. It turns your pain into your fault. Loneliness. One of the hardest parts was loneliness. I was surrounded by people in this world. Neighbors, relatives, family. But inside, I was completely alone. I wanted to tell someone. I wanted to scream for help. But when I opened my mouth, no words came out. I swallowed my screams. I buried my pain deep inside. I learned how to fake a smile. I learned how to hide my tears. I learned how to act like everything was normal. But inside, I was dying a little more every day. A small light. And yet, even in all this darkness, there was one small light. Sometimes I remembered the girl I used to be. The girl who laughed. The girl who dreamed. The girl who believed in love. She was still inside me, even if she was very small now. Her voice was weak, but I could still hear her. She whispered, "Sophia, do not give up. You are still here. You are still alive." That little voice gave me just enough strength to wake up every day, to keep breathing, to keep living, but I did not know how long that small light could survive in so much darkness. The end of part 2. This was my daily life. This was my pain, the shouting, the silence, the tears, the loneliness. Every day felt like a battle, and every night felt like a war. But my story is not finished yet. There is more pain, more heartbreak, and also, maybe, a little more hope. Hello. This is me, Sophia. You have walked with me through my beginning. You have heard about the shouting. You have heard about the silence. You have heard about the pain. But now, I will tell you about the time when I almost lost myself completely. The time when I reached my breaking point. The weight of fear. Every day I lived with fear. Fear of his footsteps, fear of his eyes, fear of his voice. When I heard the sound of the door opening in the evening, my heart jumped. Sometimes I prayed silently. "Please, God, let him be in a good mood today. Please, God, no shouting, no anger tonight." But most nights, God was silent. He came home angry. He came home tired. He came home full of poison words. I was like a prisoner waiting for the guard, waiting for the punishment, waiting for the pain. The night of the storm, one night, everything broke. It was raining heavily. The wind was strong, the thunder was loud, the world outside was wild. And inside the house, it was worse. He came home later than usual. His face was red. His breath smelled of alcohol. His eyes were dark, empty, dangerous. I placed food on the table. I said softly, "Dinner is ready." He looked at the food, then he looked at me, and he exploded. "What is this? This is disgusting. You cannot even cook. You are useless, Sophia. Absolutely useless." I stood still. I wanted to speak, but my voice froze. He threw the plate on the ground. The food splashed everywhere. The sound of the plate breaking was like the sound of my heart breaking again. I bent down to clean the floor. My hands were shaking. Tears blurred my vision. And then he pushed me hard. I fell against the wall. My head hit the corner. Pain shot through me like fire. For a moment, the world went silent. I could only hear my heartbeat. Loud. Heavy. Broken. I lay on the ground, my hair covering my face. I was shaking. I was bleeding. And he just looked at me. With no care, no guilt, no love. He turned around, walked to the bedroom, and closed the door. I stayed on the floor, alone, in the dark, crying, bleeding, silent. That night, something inside me broke forever. The voice inside me. As I lay there, a voice inside me whispered, "Sophia, is this life? Is this what you wanted? Is this what you dreamed of?" I wanted to answer. I wanted to scream, "No, this is not life. This is not love." But my mouth stayed shut. My body was weak. My spirit was weaker. Another voice whispered, "You should end it. You should finish it. Then the pain will be gone." For the first time in my life, I thought about leaving this world. I thought about closing my eyes forever. I thought about freedom through silence. But then, another memory came. The memory of my mother's face, her smile, her love, her hope for me. And I whispered back to myself, "No, I cannot do that. I cannot kill her heart. I cannot give him that victory." So I stayed alive. But I was not living. I was only surviving. The days after, the next morning, I looked in the mirror. There was blood on my hair, a bruise on my cheek, redness on my arm. I covered it all with makeup. I wore a scarf to hide my face. When my mother called, I said, "Yes, Mama, I am fine. Everything is okay." But inside, I wanted to cry. "No, Mama, nothing is okay. Your daughter is dying inside." But the words never came out. My silence was louder than my scream. Losing myself, after that night, I was not the same Sophia. I became a shadow. I moved slowly. I spoke softly. I laughed never. I looked at my reflection and thought, who is this woman? I don't know her anymore. I used to be full of light. Now I was full of darkness. I used to dream. Now I only feared. He had taken everything from me. My smile, my laughter, my trust, my hope, my life. The breaking point. There was one more moment, the moment when I finally realized I could not go on like this. It was a Sunday morning. I was cooking breakfast. The smell of bread and eggs filled the kitchen. He walked in, still half asleep. I smiled nervously and said, "Good morning." He looked at me with cold eyes. He said, "Stop smiling. You look stupid when you smile." Those words, they cut me deeper than a knife, because my smile was the last little piece of me, the last little part that was still alive. And now, even that was not allowed. I stood there holding the spoon, staring at him. Tears filled my eyes. I whispered to myself, "This is it. This is the end. I cannot live like this anymore." That was my breaking point. Not the shouting, not the pushing, not even the blood. It was the moment he killed my smile, the moment he stole the last piece of Sophia. The end of part 3. That is where I reached the edge. The edge of myself. The edge of my soul. I did not know what to do. I did not know where to go. I only knew one thing. If I stayed in this life, I would not survive. Something had to change. But how? When? And who would save me? I did not know. All I knew was this: Sophia was breaking, and soon she would be gone. The morning after the end. Hello again, this is Sophia. You have walked with me through my pain, you have seen my tears, you have heard my silence, and you have watched me break. But now, I will tell you about my light. I will tell you how I found hope. I will tell you how I found freedom. Because even in the darkest night, the sun still rises. And for me, after years of pain, my sun finally came. The decision, after that Sunday morning, when he killed my smile, I stayed in the kitchen for hours. The food went cold. The eggs were hard. The bread was dry. But I did not care. I was thinking. For the first time in a long time, I was really thinking. And my thoughts were clear. I whispered to myself, "No more. I cannot do this anymore. I will not let him kill me. I will not let him destroy Sophia." My hands were shaking. My heart was beating fast. But my decision was strong. I knew. I had to leave. The first step, leaving, was not easy. It was the hardest thing I ever did. Because leaving meant questions. Leaving meant shame in society. Leaving meant facing my family. But staying meant death. Death of my body. Death of my soul. Death of Sophia. So I chose life. I chose freedom. That night when he was asleep, I packed a small bag. Just a few clothes, just some money I had saved secretly, and a photo of my mother. With silent feet and a beating heart, I walked out of that house. I walked into the night. I walked into the unknown. But I walked into freedom. The shelter. I went to a women's shelter. It was a small building with white walls. But for me, it was a palace. Because inside those walls, there was no shouting, no anger, no fists, thoughts, only silence and safety. The women there hugged me. They looked into my eyes and said, "You are safe now. You are not alone." And for the first time in years, I believed those words. I was safe. I was not alone. Healing. The days after were not easy. I woke up with nightmares. I woke up with tears. I woke up with fear. But slowly, very slowly, things began to change. I started to write. I wrote my story on paper. I wrote my pain. I wrote my tears. I wrote my silence. And with every word, I felt lighter. With every page, I felt stronger. I met other women there. They too had stories like mine. Some worse, some different, but all painful. We cried together. We laughed together. We healed together. The return of my smile. One morning, I looked into the mirror, and for the first time in years, I saw something new. It was small. It was weak. But it was there. It was my smile. I touched my face. I whispered to myself, "Welcome back, Sophia. I missed you." And in that moment, I knew I was alive again. The message. Now, my dear friend who is listening, I want to speak to you. If you are in pain, if you are trapped, if you are silent, if you are crying at night when nobody sees, please listen to me. You are not weak. You are not small. You are not nothing. You are strong. You are worthy. You are important. You are beautiful. And you do not deserve pain. You do not deserve shouting. You do not deserve fists. You do not deserve fear. You deserve love. You deserve peace. You deserve respect. You deserve life. If I could leave, you can too. If I could heal, you can too. If I could smile again, so can you. My promise today, I stand not as a victim, not as a broken woman, but as a survivor, as a fighter, as Sophia. And I promise you, I will use my voice. I will tell my story. I will cry my tears loudly so that nobody feels alone in silence, because silence is the cage. And voice is the key. Closing words. So, my dear listener, remember this. The world may try to break you. People may try to silence you. Life may try to bury you in darkness. But always remember, there is light, there is hope, there is freedom. You are not alone, you are never alone. And one day, your sun will rise too. This was my story. This was my pain. This was my hope. And now, this is my message to you. Do not give up. Do not stay silent. Choose life. Choose freedom. Choose yourself. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you, Bao, for feeling my heart. And thank you, Sawamsa, for keeping my story alive.